I'm working in elderly care, and most people think about it as grey and stuffy, so let's get in the mood and start a video first.
Harry, he's a joker, he's a funny guy. We kind of have a cool connection. Geïnteresseerd in een eitje hier ook? Ja? At first I thought just gonna help out a little bit, but you find out that these relationships are deeper than you would expect.
We zijn ook, nou, ik weet niet of ik het veel zeg, maar ook een soort vrienden onder elkaar.
Harry is really good with the ladies in here. Sometimes he winks at them and makes them laugh. Yeah. He knows how to handle the ladies. What I'm learning here is the longer you live here, the closer death comes. A few weeks ago, someone from my hallway passed away, and she was actually pretty close to me. So then you learn that, yeah, death is coming closer, but it's also part of life.
Met Patrick, daar hebben we altijd echt goede contact met elkaar. Natuurlijk hoort hij erbij. Maar we doen alles voor elkaar wat we maar doen kunnen. Hè?
Ja, zeker.
Yeah, the strange thing about this is that Al Jazeera made a film and it was shared within a few weeks 45 million times. So, and what exactly will touch in the video? I'll tell you the whole story. And the story will start once upon a time. Once upon a time there was a house in the Netherlands, housing 160 elderly, living together in Deventer, the beautiful country in the east of Holland. They spend their lives talking about doctor's appointments and talking about the bad knee that hurts and wondering whether their daughter would have time this week to visit. The elderly were fed, they were washed, they were safe, but they were bored and they were lonely, hanging around only in their own grey group. And then around 2012, the Dutch healthcare system overhauled. In fact, there was a big change of system in Holland, because the group of elderly would double or triple over the next coming years, and we built a care system which we couldn't afford anymore. So we had to make a huge change of plan. And we had to rethink the care over. And I think that is the good news. Start asking questions again. So we ask ourselves questions: what business are we in? What would we like to achieve? And how can we achieve it without uprunning costs? Well, the first thing I decided that in the House of Humanitas we are in the business of happiness. I want them to have a smile a day instead of a pill a day. And I want joy as well as safety. I want them to have stories of their own. I want them to have experiences. I don't want the life to be stopped when you're in a home like ours. I want you to live through and you have your own stories to tell your grandchildren, and not only waiting until the life from outside comes in. We cannot solve all the trouble that comes with growing old. We cannot solve all the bad knees that hurts. Medically, we can't fix it anymore. But we can do one thing, and that's inject life. And how did we do that? We invited 6, in the video it says 5, well, never mind about that, that's a detail. But we invited a few students to come and live among the elderly rent-free. They don't pay anything, but they have to behave like good neighbors. And that's a very big thing, and everybody can fill it in its own way. When my client's representative board first heard the idea, they thought I'd gone mad. They said, "You're totally out of your mind." Because students, they thought about students representing sex and drugs and rock and roll. And how can they live amongst our vulnerable elderly? That's a strange thing about thinking about elderly care. We always think of elderly in Holland as people who are needing protection instead of adults who've lived for 80 years or something and always have taken their own decisions. It's a strange thing. I don't know how it's here in Guernsey or in the UK, but I think that's something to talk about. But that's another discussion for any other moment. Finally, my board agreed. I could start my project, but only with 1 student and only for a few months. So if it wouldn't work out, if it wouldn't benefit the elderly, then we could abort the project. We started with only 1 student. But nearly immediately, we noticed a change in the house. The stories changed. The young folks, the friends of the students, came in the house and helped the elderly out with the tablet or with the mobile phone or just something else, little things. They had stories from the parties coming in. But most of all, they loved the gossiping. Gossiping about whether he had a girlfriend, if it was the same from last week, and if she had stayed the night already, or not. By now, it's 4 years later, we have 6 in-house students living amongst the elderly. And both groups benefit from it. The students, they socialize with their senior flatmates. They learn valuable lessons of life. They get caring skills. They get used to death as a part of life. They become beautiful adults. They become beautiful people. But the elderly people around, they're very proud of our students. For some, they're more like their grandchildren. And for others, they're more like pets whom you can cuddle. But whatever the case, they are around. And they give elderly something to talk about. And they learn new games, such as beer pong. Do you know the game? It's a ping pong ball with mugs of beer on both sides of the table and throwing it in. It's something different than bingo, but... They go to pyjama parties organized by the students, and the old certainly has new experiences. I asked my students what photos I would show you. So this one is from Times Magazine. London Times Magazine came to visit us, and they made some cool photos from our students. This is my first student, still lives in the Humanitas. Oh no, from 2012. And they try to look very cool. The boy with the curly hair on the video, he dances, so he gives kind of DJ lessons. Parties, happiness. Also the usual things like flowers. My girl students. This is a very cool one as well, also from the London Times. That guy is 89, and 89, and he wanted so dearly to have a photo with his neighbor. Sometimes the students take them out for a swim, and life goes on. That's the main thing. The main message they want to give. And that's about the students and the elderly living together. But I found out, I didn't know when I started, but I found out that on top of all this, it also changed the organization. We do not manage the students. The students live independently in Humanitas. So they're not a part of our care system. They are a part of the living environment. And this makes things very easy. Because all little things happening just by surprise. They are not managed. So everything in the house, the little things are free. So sometimes there's music. One of the guys takes his friends and they're going to play the music. Or last time I was there and they blew up all green balloons. So everywhere in the house there were green balloons. I don't know why, but there is something to talk about. But as an organization, it's also a very good thing, because my style of being in charge of the organization is to be pound-wise and penny-foolish. So all little things are allowed, like ice creams on a hot day, or music, or balloons, or whatever. But my personal staff, my personal costs are low. I keep them strictly. But because of all the little things that are happening, because of the students and because of the stories, everybody's happy. My staff never complains about anything. So it makes altogether the mood and the energy in the house very healthy. And thus the organization's financial foundation remains solid. And nowadays the students, they are a part of my happiness puzzle, but they are still a part, because the whole story is much broader than just the students. The students are very important, and they made the beginning of the move, the beginning of the new energy. But now we realize that the bigger move is that we are growing from an exclusive organization to a more inclusive organization. That we are belonging more and more to society. We are a part of society. We say yes to everything that knocks on our door. Everything that lands on our doorstep, we say, okay, yes, we try. So together with our mentally impaired neighbors, we have a beautiful garden now. And our elderly are picking the flowers, or when the daughter comes, they're going to have beautiful flower arrangements from our own garden. And the neighbors from how do you say it in English? From the families from the neighborhood, they come to pick fresh flowers, fresh vegetables, because it's also a vegetable garden. But also teenage mothers, they come in and bring their babies. And they talk with the grannies, and they love the granny experience. But we also have young people. I am sure you have them in Guernsey as well. There's people, I have two boys from 22 and 24, and they are vulnerable. They can't live a life of their own in this big and complex society. When they get a letter from the tax office, they're in panic. Or when they cut blood in their finger, they're in panic. They don't know what to do. And we thought, well, why not also be a good neighbor to them? So in the block next door, in our flat, we have those two guys living on their own, in their own flat, but they are hanging around to Humanitas. Humanitas provides them a daily structure, and also the questions of everyday life are addressed at Humanitas. Everybody who comes around knows the guys and knows how to handle in case of just the questions of everyday life. So they can live independently because we are there. And so we make each other stronger. It's work in progress. We are not finished. We are always open to new suggestions, as long as our elderly benefit from it. And by benefiting, we mean that we create altogether a rich and diverse environment. Humanitas is the place where you want to be, a place that makes everybody happy. Whether it's young or old, teenage mum or mentally impaired, everybody feels welcome. It may sound too good to be true, but it isn't. It's not only reality, but it's also innovative. It's sustainable innovation. It's a different way of looking and thinking about life. Older and experienced lives alongside promising and young ones. It's new energy. It fulfills both needs, wishes and desires. It's not healthcare, or it's not care for elderly. It's life. Young and old adding values to each other's life. We did it, we're doing it, and in the near future I hope this model will be copied all over the world. I do hope so for the sake for the young and the old, to everybody, because it makes the world a better place if you live like this. And you can do so also in Guernsey. In your own way, inject life, by coming together, by getting over boundaries, make the choice, and be happy. Thank you.